The next item on our agenda is Express.js framework. Advantages: it's very easy to learn. It uses configuration over convention. If you're familiar with Ruby on Rails, that's a very steep learning curve framework. It's very opinionated. Sometimes it's called convention over configuration. With Express, it's the opposite. You have all the power to configure everything, and when you start, you can start with the very minimal knowledge and configuration. It has myriads of modules. They're also called middleware. They like plugins, so you can pick among a lot of modules and configure your Express app. It's very mature, and it's probably used in the majority of Node.js projects. Even if you use the more advanced framework like Sails or even Loopback, they are built on top of Express, so it's definitely good to know Express.js. The typical Express.js app starts with the configuration. To configure Express.js app, you would use app.set, and then the first argument is the name of the setting, and the second argument is the value. There are some system settings like view and view engine, and there are arbitrary like port. Express is built on Connect, so you can basically use any Connect middleware with your Express app. It will work. What is the middleware? Middleware is a special pattern. Think about it as a function. So middleware is a function that has the callback as the last argument, and when you're done with whatever logic you had in this function, you would invoke that callback to proceed to the next middleware. And that's why the name, because middleware is in the middle of some other logic. The order matters, so if you define the middleware, it will go from top to bottom, and the request will travel starting from the top middleware, end up with the middle, and then finish with the last middleware in your file. So how can you create a middleware with Express.js? You would use app.use, and then you would write this is this is anonymous module function definition, but you can create a named function. You can even use a module. Also, it has 3 arguments: request, response, and next. When you finish with this route or middleware, you want to invoke next. Otherwise, the process will just hang. The request will never finish because the next middleware or the next route needs to know when it's time to be executed. And request, it's the information for the request, and response for the response. The response, that's what we use to send data back to the client. To install a middleware, you use npm install --save, body parser. The most important middleware, it allows you to parse the payload, and then the compression, that's when we need to use gzip. There are a lot of other middlewares as well, for example like error handling and session middleware, Morgan for server logs. You can find a comprehensive list of recommended middleware in this cheat sheet, as well as some code to start your Express app, some boilerplate code. We're not going to spend a lot of time because we have generators. Generators will do a lot of work for us. They will generate the server code, the database code. All we need to do is just write some controllers. 3 of the most popular Angular mean stack generators are meanjs.org, mean.io, and the one we will be using, Generator Angular Full Stack. Let's talk a little bit more about this generator. It's based on Yeoman. You can see the logo here. You can get the docs by following this GitHub. Basically, it uses Mongoose in addition to using MongoDB. Mongoose is ODM, Object Document Mapper, or we used to call them Object Relational Mapper in the relational database. Or you can use even a relational database with a SQLize. Then it will create an Express app for us. It will create routes. It can even create authentication, Google, Facebook, etc. Can even add socket support to make the real-time updates. It has Twitter Bootstrap if you need it, and it has option between Jasmine or Mocha tests. So how you would use it? First, you need to install a few libraries like Grunt, Bower, and then the generator itself and Yeoman. Then you would create a project, and this is important. You need to navigate into that project folder. So my new project, it's your new project folder. So once you're inside of that empty folder, then you would execute your Angular full stack and optional app name. After everything is done, the code is generated, you answer the questions. I would talk about the questions later. You would run grunt test to test the application. It will of course pass all the tests because we didn't add anything to it yet. And then to start it, you would execute grunt serve. Serve and test, they're just tasks in the grunt file, and generator create that grunt file for us. If you want to add or modify or see what's happening with this task, just go to gruntfile.js. These are the questions. So we have options between Jade and HTML templates for the client. We can choose between less, stylus, Sass. I prefer stylus personally. Then we have two options for the Angular router. That's the library that will enable beautiful URLs in the browser window. We want to include Bootstrap, obviously. UI Bootstrap, yes. Then we would choose Mongoose and MongoDB. No, we don't want authentication. We want to keep it simple for the first time. We don't want sockets. We would choose Mocha and expect. This is the window example with questions. And once you answered all the questions, you would get those files generated for you. File for Bower, for npm, which package.json. And then in the client folder, client/app, that's where the browser application will live. And then the app./main, that's the main homepage. It has a controller, it has main.js, main.html file. E2E, it stands for end-to-end testing. That's the test that the generator generates for us automatically. And then in the server/config, that's our Express.js app. Server/API, that's our routes. So for example, we have a thing right now. It has a controller and the model. Another interesting thing is that we have this server/config/environment/tests and development and production. This is where you can configure the database name. For example, you want one database name in production, another one for testing. You can also configure other environment parameters. When in doubt, you can use --help to get the list of commands. They are endpoints, route, controller, filter. Endpoint is for the server API endpoints. And then for the client side, route, that's a new UI Angular route. Controller, we can also create a new controller. We can create a filter. We can create directive, a service, provider, factory, a decorator. And also we have two commands for OpenShift and Heroku, two commands for deployment. And this is it for the lecture. Now it's your turn to start doing and using Angular and the mean stack by going through the workshop. So the project will include building of the API, creating CRUDs for accounts and transactions, and using the generator to do all that. So the exercise consists of launching the MEANWorks tool in your terminal. You can use .MEANWorks, or if you install it with npm and install it globally, just MEANWorks. It will show you the list of the exercises. Start from the first, go to bottom, read the description, solve it, run verify, go to the next one. In the end, you will have a nice little app which has CRUD. It has a read, create, update, delete. Any feedback, please send them to the GitHub repository. And you, a star. Thank you for watching. Now the workshop time.